Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be summarizing all the Wheel of Time news from this April, as well as looking into some of the new cast members, making some assumptions on who they will be playing, and laying out possible plot lines based on the information we've learned. First, let's start with production itself. As of right now, shooting is finished and the show is in its post-production phase and will largely cover Book 4, The Shadow Rising, with filming taking place in the Czech Republic, Slovenia, and South Africa. According to the sleuths and reports from WhatSeries.com, it's unlikely we will return back to Cairhien because that particular set at Barrandov Studios was dismantled. But we do know filming has taken place at the studio. If I had to guess, the backlot could have been used for street view scenes of Cairhien or other cities characters could pass through. Actor Alexander Willimu, who plays Thom Merillin, was spotted there via his Instagram feed. So it's possible Thom could end up in Cairhien, or of course, this set is used for something entirely different. According to What Up, Thom was rumored to show up in Tanchico, so we cannot rule out that this could also be a location there. But we also know Tanchico was mainly filmed in South Africa, so there are many variables. Other locations that were used this season were the Hall of the Tower, the Two Rivers set, as well as Radnov Navadi Castle, which is rumored to be the royal palace of Andor. As far as new cast members, there are quite a few that we learned about in April. Before I continue, I need to reiterate that none of these actors have been announced officially, so there's always a chance this information could be wrong, but What Series has a great record, so let's take a look at who they are. First off, Ania Marson will be joining the cast as Latra Posae and will most likely be playing an aged version of the character and not replacing her. We can infer from this information that we will see scenes that take place many years after the breaking of the world, and perhaps something along the timeline of events that take place during the Rhudean flashback. The next new cast member is Nukaka Coster-Waldau, whose husband is Game of Thrones actor Nukaka Coster-Waldau. Some interesting background on the actress is that she is a former Greenlandic beauty pageant winner and a singer. She is also followed by and follows Madeleine Madden on Instagram, which means it's possible the two actresses share scenes together, which could place her in the Aiel Waste. Moving on to our next new face is actor Bjorn Landberg, who is lovingly referred to his fans as the George Clooney of Germany. He has played various roles as a soap opera star and is approximately 6 foot 6 inches or 198 centimeters. He sings German Schlager music, which is something like a folksy pop music that is mainly listened to by older generations. Notable cast members that he follows on Instagram are Rosamund Pike, Ayula Smart, Madeleine Madden, and Yasha Stradowski. All characters that should share scenes together in the Aiel Waste. Many people think he could play one of the Aiel, or possibly one of the Forsaken. Another interesting piece of information that I've been able to dig up is that in the early 2000s, he completed stage combat training in the United States. Lastly, he posted a photo to his Facebook page in February in front of the Lion's Head Mountain in Cape Town, placing him in South Africa during filming. All of this leads me to believe he could play one of the Aiel, perhaps Rhuarc, but his musical background has some people believing he could be one of the Forsaken. The next new cast member is Norwegian actress Synnøve Macody Lund, and again, another tall actor who is roughly 6 feet tall. It was much harder to find a lot of background information on her, but many people believe she could also play one of the Aiel due to her height. The last new casting of the month, also reported by WhatSeries.com, is Thandi Sebe, who is a German South African actor who will play the role of Solinda. Solinda is the name of an Aes Sedai who is seen in Chapter 26 of The Shadow Rising, titled The Dedicated. If we go in chronological order, she is seen first in Paradisen, which is one of the historical cities from the Age of Legends. We see the ground is shaking from earthquakes and the city is in turmoil. During the chaos, Jonai, one of the Dashain Aiel wearing the cotton sore, navigates through the hall of servants where Aes Sedai discuss a foretelling. Amidst all of this, Solinda tasks Jonai with leading his people, the Dashain Aiel, to safety, despite their reluctance, and asks him to do 3 tasks. First, to carry many objects of the One Power to safety. Secondly, to keep moving until they find a place of safety where no one can harm them, keeping the Aiel safe. Lastly, to keep the Way of the Leaf. He then leaves for the wagons outside the city, and they are filled with essential supplies and angrial. The collapse of advanced transportation forces him to rely on horse-drawn wagons. Amidst the assembled Aiel, possibly the last of their kind, Jonai denies their request to stay and serve, emphasizing their duty to obey the Aes Sedai. Then Jonai leads his people into the unknown, guided by a sense of duty. So, knowing what we know about this role being filled, it's pretty exciting to see what type of scenes we will get in Season 3. Anything happening during the Age of Legends to the War of Power is very high up on my list of things I'm looking forward to. Rhudean is one of those chapters that is a fan favorite for a reason, and I hope it manages to bring some really stunning visuals as well as some of the really character-driven moments that tie Rand to the Aiel. The next group of information is that we do have an idea on what all the episode titles will be for Season 3. Wheel of Time consultant Sarah Nakamura has chimed in reminding fans that these titles sometimes use a placeholder and could be expected to change. In no particular order, the titles are To Race the Shadow, Golden Eyes, A Question of Crimson, He Who Comes with the Dawn, Seeds of Shadow, Teleron Riod, The Road to the Spear, and The Shadow in the Night. If you want more information regarding these titles, I'd suggest checking out a recent video from What Up on his breakdown and theorizing the order in which the episodes will be. I'll be sure to link that below. Lastly, there have been audition scripts found revolving around a character I'm really excited to see next season, which is Elaida, who is rumored to be played by none other than Sheree Agdashlu. The audition script has 2 separate interactions with 2 different people. The first is Elaida speaking to a person who is most likely Leane, where Elaida is requesting a meeting with the Amyrlin seat. Leane reminds her that only sitters are allowed to call a meeting, and Elaida says, "It seems I have returned at a bad time for the Amyrlin, no?" She seems to be dealing with quite the mess at the moment. A clever one would see my value to help tidy things up. Perhaps that's too much to ask. She is then reprimanded by Leane and responds by saying she comes in goodwill on behalf of the Queen of Andor Morghese, who would like to inquire where Elayne Trakand is and why she hasn't been in contact. Elaida then says, "Perhaps, but the Queen hasn't received any correspondence from the White Tower in months. I can only assume that the Amyrlin's letters are getting lost. Tell her that the Queen would dearly love to know how her daughter is getting on, assuming the Tower even knows where the girl is. Tell Swan I shall be in my chambers." Now, first, let's remind ourselves that this script is likely to change as once the writers come up with something, it can be tweaked and rewritten multiple times. But I believe the basis of this encounter will remain the same. Elaida arrives in Tar Valon, needing proof that Elayne is alive and well. In my opinion, once Elaida finds that she cannot produce the missing daughter heir, Morghese will send word formally firing her from her role as advisor. This is one of the big motivators for Elaida to come in and try to take control: humiliation. But it's also likely that once an opportunity arises for Elaida to take power, it's also very much in her nature to grab it. Reports from What Up have also suggested that we will have a scene with Elaida before the event from the audition script takes place within the royal palace of Andor in the presence of the Queen. So we will very likely have a scene that takes place with all the major players in Cairhien: Elaida, the Queen, perhaps Gawain and Galad, and most likely Leane, who is rumored to be played by Zuzana Hodkova. Now, the next audition script segment takes place between who we can assume is Elaida and Min, which most likely places both characters at the White Tower. For anyone who was confused as I was about how Min's Season 3 story will go, this gives me some assurance that it seems to be heading back on track and merging with what happens in the books. The scene plays out with Elaida accusing Min of spying on her, recognizing her as a seer, saying, "All that talent you possess, and Swan uses you like a dog sniffing after a rabbit. It can be lonely knowing what's to come, seeing the future writ large in front of your very eyes. I too shoulder that burden, but I suspect my visions and my prophecies are far less frequent than yours. How do you bear it, child?" Min says she doesn't handle it well and tends to look away. Elaida reassures her that she must never look away and that the visions are tools to bring about change. They are gifts. Elaida then says, "I had a vision once that the royal line of Andor would be key in the last battle, so I traveled there and helped put the prophecy in action for the pattern." Min replies saying she doesn't like that level of responsibility, and Elaida says that one can gain power from this type of responsibility and to never let someone abuse her gift. What I find most interesting from this scene is that it shows just how Elaida sees herself. Someone whose status is elevated because of her gifts, someone who is working to assist the pattern. But it's also interesting because it allows viewers to understand that Elaida knows what Min is capable of, and I think this could also make Min a natural threat to Elaida, which could also set up future plotlines with Elaida taking actions against her. Overall, it's a really fun bit of information for the upcoming season. Sadly, there was no new information sent out by production for JordanCon, which is a bit of a bummer, but I think that this gives us a lot to go on. Season 3 seems to be shaping up to be a lot more similar to the books, but I also foresee lots of changes to cram in all the big plot lines into one season. If you have any ideas on who the new cast members might be playing and any theories about episode titles, drop them into the comment section below. If you enjoy these types of videos, let me know by giving this one a like and share, and subscribe to the channel. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Discord. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back next time.